I'm here with Andrew Tracey and Tom Kemp, and down at the Farm Fitness today. We've just done a massive workout, strongman stuff, and it was an absolute killer. My lower back's on fire, grip's gone, cut hands, but it was totally worth it to come out and work with these boys. So, chaps, thanks very much for having me down today. Absolutely fantastic workout, something that I don't really do that much of, so it took me out of my comfort zone. Thanks very much for that. First off, tell me a bit about Farm Fitness. Like, this place is crazy. How would you describe it to people that haven't been down?
It's just your dream gym, isn't it? It's we spent a lot of time sort of thinking what we could include here to make it so unique, and just to be outside in the country as well.
Yeah.
Get out of the gym, and just make the training feel more real life, and sort of structures like bodybuilding type training mixed with like modified strongman, and quite a bit of high intensity stuff as well, like you found at the end. Got pretty spicy. So yeah, just somewhere that's you can come away from training knowing that you've absolutely killed it, given it your all, and just feeling good about yourself in a nice open environment. Yeah,
definitely. I think like for people that are in London or in cities, like the opportunity to be out here in the open and just like with all this lovely scenery in the background is so refreshing to get that country air as well. So like it's awesome you guys have got this real niche setup. I think that loads of people really enjoy being out of a typical gym environment with their workouts. Like when you said you kind of used to do bodybuilding type training, how has your training kind of changed over the years, like for both of you?
Well, I think we're still including like your big compound moves. Like today was a big pull session. So we focused on like the rack pulls first. We're still like implementing like your big moves and your chins, and getting a bit of volume in there as well. Like with the rope climbs straight into like kettlebell curls. So you're still like chasing the pump, and then mixed with your functional stuff as well.
Yeah.
So,
I think what we tend to do is kind of look more at the principles instead of the methods. So you're not getting pegged down so much into one method, like I'm a CrossFitter or I'm a strongman trainer, I do HIIT. We look at more when we program for the classes too, the principles that work within all of those modalities, and see how we can then apply it to different stuff. So instead of thinking this is bodybuilding, we do bodybuilding in a commercial gym, we do bodybuilding in front of a dumbbell rack, how can we take them principles, that the hypertrophy training, progressive overload, how can we apply that to stuff that is maybe a little bit less accessible to people perhaps? So the modified strongman stuff, we'll throw in a lot of log press, that sort of thing, which, you know, if you're coming from a city gym or something like that, it might not be something you've encountered before. But we're not just doing it for novelty's sake. It's programmed in such a way that the principles are still solid and they're still the same as what you would be doing in a more commercial environment, but it's making it a little bit more accessible to people who would maybe find this stuff like the stones, the yoke, a bit more niche. You know, they don't want to go train with, a 20 stone bearded strongman. They want to train with their friends. So it might be a bit intimidating for them, but in this environment, it's a lot more accessible to everybody.
No, I think it's brilliant. Like you can definitely see that the stuff that you do here wouldn't normally be accessible to a lot of people, especially like females that maybe would be completely intimidated by walking into a big gym with 20 plus stone guys throwing weights around, and actually coming down with two really approachable people, they feel a lot more safe, a lot more included, and like they can actually try something that's a bit different. They're not just pegged into doing a body weight hill climber workout in the park. Like they can actually pick up the farmer's carry or the stones or whatever. And actually, we were talking earlier about when you picked up that 100 kilo stone the other day, your core was just going on fire because you're actually having to stabilize. You're not just doing like a crunch.
Yeah.
So do you find that actually kind of using these, we're not actually typically training core, but you find that you're working so much more just from doing these various exercises?
Yeah, and there's real world crossover and transferability there. Yeah, I mean the term sort of functional gets thrown around a lot, but it's really contextual, like functional for what? What do you do? But a lot of sandbag carries, the stones, the yoke, the farmers, unilateral stuff we do, it might seem niche, but it's actually not. It has a lot more carryover because things in real life aren't 7 foot long with plates on the end and knurling, are they? Your kids, your twins, when you're trying to pick them up, when you're pushing the pram and you're trying to get them in and out of trolleys, that's not a nice spread load. That's a wriggling, moving toddler. And I think that that's where the transferability of this stuff, it might seem like they're poles apart. You know, mum's in the park doing crunches with PT, and like you said, a big 20 stone strongman, but actually there's a lot of applicability for everybody to be doing this stuff. And we're just trying to make it really available.
Awesome, man. Awesome. And I think like you've been doing a lot more calisthenics work as well, haven't you? So
Yeah.
like, is that just something you kind of wanted to try, or have you had a background in gymnastics?
No, I've got no background in gymnastics at all. I travel a lot for work. I own a business, and I'm always traveling. I don't normally have gym access, so a lot of the workouts I'll do generally will either be whatever I've got with me, which nowadays tends to be quite a lot. I carry kettlebells and bands and stuff, but then a lot of bodyweight stuff, some Atlas stones, a log press. I've built a rig on the side of the van. Quite a lot now. But I mean, initially it was just like bodyweight stuff. And as I say again, when you look at the principles versus the methods, you can take the principles of bodybuilding training and apply it to other stuff. So like, it's very easy. You hear a lot like, oh, bodyweight training's for beginners and stuff like that. But actually, you see these guys who can bench press 140 kgs, can't actually do 20 dips with their own body weight. So that is tough.
Yeah.
It is tough. You know, the toughest workout is what you're not accustomed to. So the calisthenic stuff kind of came as a natural progression of doing the bodyweight stuff, and it really is so different from traditional resistance training. The progressions and the regressions are totally different, and the programming for it, which is something that really interests me. I'm really sort of in love with programming, so looking at the different modalities and how you progress and regress. So this has become like a bit of an experiment for me, really. And rings are just such a versatile tool.
Yeah.
If you've got rings and a kettlebell and maybe a set of bands, there really is no program you can't adapt and sort of replicate once you understand the principles of progressive overload, you know, lifting, vertical, horizontal, push, pull. You can then break it down into its sort of constituent parts and recreate that. And I think that kind of the whole your gym membership thing that I do, I think a lot of people pick up on it because they're in a similar situation where they're like, you know, I can't get to the gym every night, but I do have a kettlebell.
Yeah.
So actually I can still be getting optimal results.
Definitely. I think it's interesting you kind of touched on that, because I think a lot of people, it's either all or nothing. They're like, right, I'm gonna go to the gym and I'm only gonna work out at the gym.
Yeah.
And like, if I can't go, then I'm not gonna do anything.
That's it. Yeah.
And actually, like, you don't have to have that specific rigidity. As long as you can do something, something's better than nothing. What's optimal for you may be just to do something with a band, with a kettlebell and a set of rings, because that's all you can do consistently. And we know like the consistency is really the key thing in making progression, isn't it? Like, if you don't have that, then you're not going to progress forward.
Yeah.
No, that's good, man. That's a really good point actually you touched on. Another thing that we were kind of chatting about earlier is like food. Food is such a hot topic because everyone wants to know what's the best thing to stay in shape. And as three of us, we've got very different habits when it comes to eating. So, Tom, you love to eat every 2 hours on the dot.
Yeah,
you know, can't get your 6
I'm
meals
quite
in.
structured. That's just how my mindset works. I like that routine. I like living in a routine. And yeah, I track calories and I track macros in each meal. But yeah, hanging around with him too much, you do get a taste for some pizza and some burgers. But yeah, it's balance as well. You've got to enjoy your food.
Yeah, for sure, man.
We're not robots. You've got to do what works for you and what makes you happy, really.
Exactly. And so, Andrew, your eating is nothing like that, is it?
Yeah, no, I try and sort of push my first meal back as far into the day as I can, because what I enjoy to do is eat slightly bigger meals. Rather than spread them out. I might hit similar sort of calories and similar protein and carbs and fats to times, but I will do them in larger meals. And I think something Tom touched on there was mindset. And something I've been saying recently is nutrition is almost not worth talking about wholesale, because what works for Tom is I couldn't do 2 days like it, and Tom might struggle to eat in the style I do. And it really is a case of finding what works for you. So for me, I push my first meal further back into the day because I'm okay not eating until 1-2 o'clock in the afternoon. I've only, what time are we on now?
It's 4 o'clock.
Yeah, I've had a bit of popcorn just because it was there. But I know tonight I'm going to eat big, enjoyable foods. I think the most important thing is getting the a healthy relationship with food where you're not thinking about it all the time. So you're not obsessing over what your next meal is because you know what it is, and you're easy with that. And like you said, you're happy to eat like a similar few meals throughout the day, and you're not thinking about it.
Yeah.
And I'm not thinking, oh God, I can't wait for that 1 o'clock meal. It just is what it is. I know I'm going to eat at 1 o'clock, and I know in the evening I'm pretty much just going to let the chips fall where they may. And then that wasn't a chip pun, but
Chips for dinner.
there was definitely chips involved. But I think it's just about finding what's right for the individual, as opposed to having too rigid a mindset and falling off of that. It's like I said to you earlier, like sustainable will always be optimal when optimal isn't sustainable. If you can't sustain Tom's diet, then just don't do it. Just don't even try and do it and fall off the wagon.
Your lifestyle as well, you can't be chasing around over food. With us PTing as well, like bouncing between clients, you've just got to take it when you can, really.
No, so it's interesting. Like we kind of discussed this earlier, didn't we? So, like the PT model, we were discussing online, in person, guides, like what's good for who, and where does that all kind of fit in. And like we're all PTs or have been PTs, and like you guys have worked in gym floors, hitting 40 plus sessions a week with clients, and you can kind of fall out of love with it because you're doing so much. Like nowadays, a lot more people are going online. Like I coach people online, and it's less money than you're going to pay if you're seeing someone face to face a couple of times a week. But obviously, you're not going to be able to get that hands-on, like technical coaching, but you are still accountable for your actions. Like, how do you guys kind of fit in the online versus face-to-face coaching form, like argument? I mean,
yeah. Well, last year we released Finish Stronger. So it's 25 workouts and just nice, short, sharp, like finishes that people include into their programming. Just to really last little blast in the tank, and yeah, that was good. We had good feedback, good interaction from that. But yeah, we still want to offer that little bit more. So we're working on a few bits to come. Yeah,
we'd like to sort of a bit more, because as we were saying earlier, it's really easy to sort of push back against it and say like, this is real coaching, real hands-on. But if you're a good coach, you understand that there are low skill solutions you can offer to people who you're not necessarily seeing them every day. So then you're not going to program really high skill exercises and let them go off and get away with it. But if the option for someone is either come and see you and do remote coaching or do nothing at all, then you're making that accessible for them, that's important. That's so important. And at the end of the day, there's good coaches on gym floors, there's bad coaches on gym floors, there's good coaches online, there's bad coaches online. There always has been and there always will be. It's very easy to sort of pigeonhole everything that's online and say, oh, Instagram coach, online coach, this, that, the other. There's crap writers for magazines and has been since the beginning of time. And there's always been like celebrities making workout videos and stuff like that. It's always existed. But I think what's better in this day and age is that people can fact check for themselves. And people can see the feedback instantly. You can check out someone online and you can instantly see, are they actually getting real results with real clients? And are they practicing what they preach? And it's like anything else, like I said already, there's good coaches and there's bad coaches. And that's going to be on the gym floor and that's going to be online. So if you're a good coach like yourself and you're making it accessible to people who haven't necessarily got the expendable income to get a PT 3 hours a week, then more power to you. I mean, you're providing a service that there's a gap in the market for, and B, an important service in this day and age. You're making it accessible for someone, and that's what's important to me, I think.
Yeah, I think I'm going to come back to consistency again here, because we talked about it with food, we talked about it with training, but someone can buy a guide off of any PT that's like a 6-week program, but are they going to stick to it? Are they going to go and do it week after week? And actually I find that so many people will try things like that and maybe they'll drop off because they're not accountable to anybody else. Like if they don't do it, doesn't matter. And actually, like just having somebody to talk to really helps.
Yeah.
If you can't afford a PT, and that's usually the main problem, isn't it? Like, PT is expensive. You're paying for someone's time, and if you want to see them 2 or 3 times a week, it could be hundreds of pounds a week.
It's a luxury item, isn't it?
Exactly.
You know, it's not.
So actually having like a guide or having
you want to offer something
a coach,
that's more feasible, and going back to our class structure as well, we like to sort of focus on giving people something to take away as well. Like we do like a technique tune-up, don't we?
Yeah.
Just breaking the session down, just not just a beasting, but just spending like 10-15 minutes at the start, just really giving them some teaching points, and that just helps with their progression over the attendance to the classes.
Yeah. And you know, if you can get hands-on with, particularly if you're doing remote coaching, even if it's just 1 session a month, and you can get sort of hands-on, and you can find any glaring weaknesses, or just to be there even once or twice a month to highlight anything they need to do technique-wise, you then know you're sending them off safely. Yeah, and it's very easy to say, oh, you know, these online coaches, or you're giving someone a workout and you don't know if they're performing the exercises properly, etc. But that's true of anything.
Yeah.
That's true of anything. We all post workouts online, and we don't know what people are going away and doing with that. And that's exactly the same level of risk. In fact, it's a higher risk because you're not consulting with these. You know, you're not consulting with 45,000 people beforehand and saying, "Do you know how to deadlift?" Because I'm going to put deadlift in this workout. So do you know how to do that? So
yeah, no, I mean, you raise a really good point. At the end of the day, anything that is online, like, there's an element of risk involved with the people that are going to do those workouts, but at the end of the day, there's enough content out there that's good quality that people can see, okay, my back should be straight when I deadlift. It's like such a common thing, but you see people with rounded backs. And so actually, like, people have to be accountable for themselves. And like, you have to be your own best scientist, and you have to learn through your own mistakes and still learn from other people as well. That's spot on, mate. So kind of like looking to the future now, what do you guys see as like the next thing for you? Because obviously bodybuilding backgrounds in a way, like hypertrophy, strength training, structured gym programming. Now you're doing this modified strongman stuff. Like, where do you kind of see things going for the future? What do you want to do if you could do anything? I know you're doing a ridiculous challenge coming up soon. Which I won't say any more about.
Just in case I bottle out. Fads and stuff are going to come and go in fitness, but it's just about identifying the difference between something that's there for the sake of being there and something that's genuinely going to make a difference, implementing it into people's training. And that's why we self-experiment a lot, and we take things, regularly. We'll try class structures ourselves. And if there's something that's kind of floating around that we get asked about a lot, oh, do you guys do this? Do you guys, we take everything on board, and we're not on this side of the road where we're like, oh, let's do this because this is huge, this is trending, and this will get loads of people down. And we're not here where we're like, we don't deal with fads. Everything, you've got to have an open mind to everything. And that's how a lot of this evolved, really, isn't it?
We've just kind of just gone with the flow.
Yeah, and finding what works safely in a group environment.
And what people enjoy as well, like what
that's
they want to do.
the important thing, isn't it? It's making it, there's probably people that come down here that are going to watch this and they're going to think, I don't enjoy it. They do, because they come back every single week. Yeah. So we're finding things that are...
balls lost down the back,
It's going to grow organically, I think.
Yeah,
it is going to grow. That's not a fun pun. I've just got all the puns today.
Alright guys, so like we've all been training for like 10 years. If there's one kind of thing that you maybe would like to give as a free piece of advice to people that are just starting out or they've been training for a couple of years, like, what kind of thing would you say to people as like your one takeaway from so long?
I think structure is a big one for me. I could look back and see some of my training plans from like 6 years ago, and it's always an indication of like how far you've come. And every session, like, I'm still like tracking my reps, tracking my weights, and just always pushing for that more. And I think it's a mindset thing as well. So you can turn up to your session, you know where you are, you know what you've got to be, and you're constantly trying to better yourself and sort of progress really. So yeah, that's a big one for me, just tracking your progress, seeing how far you've come.
Oh, definitely, man. I completely agree. I think that's a really big thing.
Yeah, in a similar vein, just having a plan and sticking to it. Like I will always say to people, even like really experienced, even like people like us guys, one of the best things you can do is take someone else's plan, you know, another trainer's plan, or get someone else to write you a plan and just stick to it. Because when you're doing stuff yourself, it's really easy to dip in and dip out and get lost in the motion of, okay, I'm doing push, pull, legs, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. But when you have a really structured plan, especially if it's something you haven't written for yourself, so you don't write out your weaknesses necessarily, and it's got built-in progress. That for me is the main thing. Like, you don't have to, I don't mean like you need to track every rep, but find some way of making sure you're progressing the whole time. So, and it can be literally anything. It can be literally anything. So if you can do 50 pull-ups in 20 minutes this week, and you can do 55 pull-ups in 20 minutes next week, that's two variables you track there and you've seen progress. And I always say to people, if you want to see progress, progress.
Yeah.
And it really is that simple. If you can find a way to make sure you're building in progress week in, week out, whatever that may be, any sort of overload, that's it. Just make sure you're overloading and make sure, have a plan and stick to it.
Brilliant. Lads, I think let's leave it there. That's some fantastic footage for everyone to hear, some great bits of advice. Thanks so much for having me down at the farm, boys.
Coming down, mate. Enjoyable session.
Cheers, lads.
Feeling that.
And I'll see you guys very soon. Another episode coming right your way in a week. See ya.